let's see how this one's going to go as we get into the picks and bans for game number 1. And this is, you mentioned this already. Wasn't this seen in the stars? This Mordekaiser situation?
Yeah, so Bwipo, again, you know, he showed early on in the tournament, he really likes Mordekaiser. He wants to pick it into people's Scions. So since you blue side, ban that Mordekaiser. Atlus, all the North American fans breathing a sigh of relief as the Scion is then answer banned.
Everyone loves a bit of character development in their League of Legends, Kobe, and we get it right here. One more ban to come on through, and then we'll see what's going to be left up. But there is a certain pigeon and a lady that does pirouettes with an orb that I'm a little bit worried about. Never mind. No, she's still up. That was a test. Passed it. Absolutely nailed it. Aurora, though, and the Rise going to be a big deal, but instead, I think Pigeon Man might get snapped up here by HongQ. We'll see where they do decide to go.
Yeah, the power of the Azir is definitely worth investing in. It does mean that you have to play a little bit slower and invest in that Azir and get money into it. So I want to see if CFO want to grab that early and do a scaling composition around an Azir. It's definitely a tried and true strategy. Some teams have been hesitating a little bit if they want to do that, or maybe a more early game focused setup for themselves, but FlyQuest knowingly give that up to CFO. So this will be interesting to see the response here from FlyQuest. You know, what kind of counter do they have to the Azir? Typically, Quad will just answer with more control mages. He has not this year, you know, played like that Kali spicy pick into it.
I was thinking this because you've got Taliyah Pantheon up if they'd like to pick it. And I know Taliyah Pantheon, a thing in the past that we may have been waggling our finger at, but this is not a bottom lane duo. This is very powerful mid-jungle.
100%, and Inspired has really loved that. There's also the Vi that also pairs really well. Point and click CCs with it, so one of those combos and the Vi does get locked in, so you have that guaranteed setup for the seismic shove for sure. We'll see if they can actually punish. Now on CFO's side, let's see the response here. Obviously,
Zhao Rumble, are we just going as stock standard as possible?
At least the Xin for driver here. Do they want a bit more structure to a scaling 5-on-5? Maybe driver they probably still want on a like frontline CC heavy champion, and he doesn't have to pick it early on, but very well could.
Well, they do it.
Okay.
Sometimes if you manifest things, then they happen. So I need to be very careful. I'm going to stop doing that, Kobe, because I didn't really want to see it. But we do see it anyway in the end.
All right, well, this makes me think, is Bwipo just going to go the Ornn or the Galio then? Bwipo has preferred the Galio as far as those super common answers into the Rumble. But he could spice it up a little. You know, he always does have a very deep champion pool for counter picks. And because he has a deep pool for counter picks, he could actually let the pick for Bwipo drop all the way to 4-5 here.
I think Busio has been absolutely amazing on this Alistar. He played so many games on this champion, managed to pick that one up in a lot of the best of ones that they were in earlier on. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do here. And I think if there's ever a way to get back on the horse, or the cow, I guess, if we're going to stick with the metaphor, then this is the way to do it, right? Because he's been so reliable.
Get right back in there. Yeah, I mean, he has been a huge playmaker for this team. Really has been the star for the team, honestly, in summer, in the second half of the year. So Alistar never likes playing into Poppy. Neither does Vi to some degree. So the Poppy ban is very well deserved. Support Poppy has really been crazy thus far at the tournament. For CFO, they could just ban the standard Rumble answers of the Ornn Galio that we talked about, and then force Bwipo to do something a little bit more creative.
I don't mind. I feel like the Galio is kind of awkward in the composition. So we'll see whether they do decide to get rid of something else. They take away the Ambessa first, and now we've got one more ban to come on down here. I think Kaiwing wants to play an engage support, because otherwise CFO aren't going to have very many reliable ways to start a fight. I believe it was Skumon that was playing the engage Xin Zhao, which actually worked somewhat well, but I don't know whether I'd recommend it. So maybe a little bit of another option. So they don't need to worry as much about there being like a Siva Karma coming in on that bottom side of the map. And I think that that's pretty smart, given the fact that they've already locked in the Alistar, which can leave your bottom lane a little bit susceptible. Caitlyn already taken away though.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they definitely need something to keep people on a Rumble Ultimate.
Yep.
And that's going to be Kaiwing's job.
It's Leona, isn't it? They're just going to play Leona.
Yeah, definitely a possibility there. see about the protection bans here again for the Rumble. Is the Ambessa all that they're really worried about Bwipo going to? Okay, so they
Galio comes in. So is it just on for Bwipo? Does he do that? Or are we going to see Urgot? Like, what's happening here? I don't know whether we're electing to cook or whether we're just going to keep the kitchen clean.
I would prefer the Ornn because Ornn plus Vi plus Taliyah, has a lot of combination possibilities there. But Bwipo probably prefers something a little bit more mobile. Okay, yeah. Ksante is more mobile. I know.
Middle ground?
Ksante has not had a lot of success at the tournament thus far, though. So definitely is a little bit contentious there. Yeah. And it doesn't really it's not a hard counter or anything to Rumble, so it's not it's not too much spice.
I feel like it just exists in a lot of these drafts. You don't feel good, you don't feel bad, which, knowing Ksante's past, maybe that's a good thing. So let's see what Doggo is going to be playing here. Just need to round out the bottom lane here for CFO as they've basically just taken away their top side, and will now just lock in some picks for Doggo and Kaiwing. There's that Leona that I was talking about. See, I'm not going to make a suggestion for what Doggo's going to play, and therefore we can keep up the suspense.
You've manifested the whole draft.
Yeah, it's
for CFO.
Problematic. It's really problematic. If they lose, I will have to apologize to everyone. Benjamin's going to be in my DM saying dude, please stop.
No, I mean, honestly, this is the meta, though. This is the straightforward meta here for CFO, and that's a good line to take for game number 1 of a series. Doggo, of course, I feel like just has been such a star here for CFO. He's been playing very aggressively, and I've really liked what I've seen from him. When he does have advantages, presses them really effectively.
Double equalizer comp. I know package isn't there anymore, but Valkyrie still kind of works and got buffed since the removal of said package. It's all right. Busio going to be hovering a Vayne. Don't know whether that is actually going to be coming in, but it's the right era for a Corki matchup.
Yeah, I want a high DPS champ here for Massu. I think we really do need more of a hyper carry style champion for Massu here, since we are running Ksante, Alistar, and Vi. Those aren't. Jhin is definitely not a hyper carry. Okay, well.
I mean, there's no true tank, but Leona is kind of a true tank at the end of the game.
Exactly. So Jhin has a lot of playmaking, and FlyQuest do have a lot of playmaking. They don't have a lot of damage for super later into the game, though. Like you're saying, though, Jhin can have really good damage versus non-tanks. It's just sometimes it's hard to work around. Like a Xin ultimate, hard for him to deal with. Leona can be very hard for him to deal with as well. Jhin doesn't necessarily have his own dash to get off of Rumble ults either.
Yeah.
So I prefer CFO side. I got to be honest, Atlus. I do prefer CFO side.
Thanks, Kobe. I guess I can trust.
I prefer Coach Atlus.
There we go. I will not take credit for it, though, because obviously this has been pretty standard on this current patch. And the shudder at seeing a Jhin is pretty standard for me, too. So just understand that even though I groaned, that is largely to do with bias against the champion. It just isn't something that I've enjoyed seeing here. Kind of feels like you're playing... Think about this in card terms, you've got a ramp deck, but then your top end is 2 drops. It just doesn't feel like it's working.
So I'm ramping from 1 drops to 2 drops.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We're just not really doing too much more afterwards. I guess 4 drops is probably what I should have said because it's Jhin, and that would have felt a little bit better. But they do have a lot of setup. There is a lot of CC. If you can get an accelerated Jhin in this game, he will still do work. And I still have nightmares. It was T1 that was at the front of it, I'm pretty sure, earlier on in the year. Or was it last year? I'm not entirely sure, but it wasn't a great time. Anyway, let's get onto the Rift here for game number 1. CFO on our blue side to start us off. First dragon going to be that Infernal. And Fly going to see whether they can get off to a good start.
I love Gyos, by the way.
This is so cool that it's also there's not a, it's not an LPL team on the Rift right now. And we're still getting the Gyos. It's just super cool.
Yeah, you can actually feel the energy, feel the excitement. Last day of Swiss, making or breaking dreams. And we are going to get the makings of a Raptor Ward.
Well, we already audaciously charging on top of Quad here. Does get taken down to half health, but he doesn't drop. And speaking of drops, a reminder, the drops are active all worlds long, so be sure to log on to your accounts at lolesports.com for a chance at earning some digital loot.
250 HP lead Atlus in mid lane. Yeah, that is a pretty good level 1. I like that. Now it's 300 HP lead. HongQ here on the Azir having a really good early start. Even small things as going for a Raptor ward and JunJia camping there with HongQ. So once you get vision of the enemy mid laner just jumping over for that early trade, can have huge ramifications for how this lane does play out.
And it used to be such a contentious lane matchup, even when the champions were in different positions, right, as far as power level was concerned. I think Azir taking the most recent nerfs, but Taliyah really lost a lot of power. And so I think HongQ's going to be pretty happy about how this one's going, because a lot of our Azirs really learned how to play this matchup. Yeah,
and I also like how CFO are going with the Doggo topside strategy again. Doggo has proven that he is very good at the AD carry, 1v1 situation on top side of the map, and Corki is a very powerful 1v1 champion here into Ksante.
Yep. You just saw there that we had a look at HongQ and Quad as well. Their shared champion pool, a lot of control mages that both of these players do like to play, but it feels like HongQ has been allowed to have more fun this Worlds.
He's got the Aurora and Akali, which are kind of missing from Quad, so the fun of the mobility of those champions definitely can be on stage later in the series. Currently, though, Quad going for the early recall, so is just going to have the early tier purchase. Now, he didn't have any extra money, it looks like, for any potions. So this will be a Taliyah with no sustain versus Azir with still Biscuit in inventory and both potions available.
Oh dear. Well, that is an aggressive Valkyrie here from Doggo. Remember, he's already done this to Doran. So it is going to be Bwipo able to walk his way out, but you know that he's always going to be aggressive. In goes Kaiwing, speaking of aggression, as Quad, you mentioned the lack of potions. I think that was a poignant thing to talk about there, Kobe. Well done.
Yeah, and it gives value here to all these ganks towards mid lane, all the extra pressure.
Well, Ebapolv does come on down here as Massu. Decent deadly flourish. His driver stands still for a while, but does have the scrap shield. He'll be all right. We'll just be convinced to go home.
Okay, so we have teleports available for both Driver and Bwipo. Bwipo did cancel his Rico, and he's sticking around, though, on 50% HP. As JunJia decides to call off the long play there. Leona was still coming over.
Still seems to be making his way up as JunJia is going to, at the last second, cancel that recall. Still looking for a way in.
Yeah, I think if you delay it too long, though, the defense gets here. Vi is on the way. Busio's actually not coming up here, though.
He cancels another one. Another audacious charge goes in. Wind becomes lightning, connects, but hasn't seen Inspired. Finally does now. Looks like they were still considering it. That was very CFO of them, but they are going to back away in the end.
This is going to significantly cost.
Oh, we've paused. FlyQuest are like, no. CFO would go for that dive. These must be different players.
The line between having a great play and having a struggle can be thin, and we'll see if he's able to clear that line this time around.
Oh, thanks, Chronicler. And here we are. We're back in. And it is just the game as we saw it before. We just got to have a little bit of a timeout and a little bit of a chat to our lovely analysts.
Yeah, and I think what the issue was is that Kaiwing went a little bit early to the top lane, thus triggering the lane swap detection punishment.
Yep.
And CFO were contesting.
We had the same pause in the LCK. Don't you worry.
Yeah, so
happens to the best of us.
Kaiwing just missed out on a bit of extra, experience and support quest there, but
ultimately it will be okay.
Yeah, I believe we're just resuming, so they just explained the lane swap detection.
Yep. And because it's now a little bit later on this patch, we are going to be paused one so close against Gen G. If they can't even get there, it doesn't feel very good. But this does, because now we can see the video game, and it's all in color and everything like that. We don't need to worry about the sepia mode that we had before, and everything is all good.
So after all these pauses and after all the swap, let's evaluate what went down with the experience. The biggest thing to me,
battle level.
Yeah, the biggest thing to me is top lane. Top lane having a full level advantage for Bwipo is huge. Ksante ultimate definitely very, very threatening, and Driver suffered more heavily in the CS with the lane swap, with the 2v1s.
Oh, Emperor's Divide does get the flash out of Quad here. Nice little attempt from HongQ. That means that another visit, and they should be able to get a kill.
Meanwhile, Inspired got to the second Scuttle Crab, getting him to the level 6 breakpoint as well. So they are going to have experience, slight experience lead for the jungle, much larger experience lead for top lane.
Nothing a few pedals can't fix, right, Kobe?
True.
We'll need to get a couple of those as HongQ does avoid the seismic shove, but he does so by hoovering up a whole bunch of rocks. So that doesn't exactly feel fantastic. This does, though, because these sand soldiers are really starting to hurt. With the recurve bow and blasting one now completed.
Yeah, I am. Inspired also showed here. So every time you show, then you give a lot of information to your opponents in the early game because CFO know that Inspired cleared up towards that side, and so by showing mid, they can now guess, all right, presumably for the next like 30 seconds, he's going to be clearing the rest of his red quadrant. Your red buff, your Krugs, and then re-clearing down. It's not the biggest of deals because they do know what your jungle path was from the beginning, but it just makes it certain so they can...
Getting the confirmation is, I think, a big deal.
Yeah, especially when you finally have your level 6 on Vi, and you want to use what we were talking about in Champ Select. The Vi ultimate guarantees you a seismic shove play onto Azir, and so that extra threat is something that they want to kind of keep hidden in the fog of war if possible.
Yeah, I also think that fighting around now is exactly what they want to be doing, right? Level 6s are a big deal for this composition. FlyQuest do want to get themselves off to a good start to make sure that their damage is enough moving later on into the game. As Bwipo, this seems to be his new thing. It's just farming behind turrets. Doesn't look like he's going to have too many issues, though, doing it. As you can see, still retaining decent experience advantage. Also tempo advantage now, and we'll be able to move into the fog of war. Could be a little bit dangerous as we do see CFO going for these grubs.
Yep, we're going to get the objective trade for the early game. So CFO, they're going to have the extra pushing power of the grubs for these turret plates. We'll see how much extra money this does result in the early game especially. And if FlyQuest focus on the dragon stacking will pay off. Of course, this FlyQuest squad is looking a lot at these mid-game fights. They want to focus on dragon stacking so that they can put that pressure onto CFO in the mid-game.
And the unfortunate thing is, 2 of the best souls are now removed. So we'll have to see what is going to be the soul moving later on, as we do get that second Drake going down. But it's not going to be Infernal or Hextech. They could have just won the game, right? If you get them with this composition, if you can make that snowball work, it doesn't quite matter as much what the composition is if you can keep rolling that one down the hill and grab that soul early. As Busio taking a lot of damage here. Pulverize onto 2 as Massu trying to get that follow-up damage. Doggo does just use the barrier to make sure that he stays as healthy as possible, and it's a good trade for CFO.
Yeah, it certainly is. Get that Alistar fairly low, healing back up with the passive. A little bit of sustain there for Busio. And Inspired is trekking his way over here on the Vi. So we'll see after Krugs if he just goes back into another re-clear and heads up down towards the other side of the map. Most probably he'll just go Raptors and Wolves, but there's possible options for them to get a little bit fancy with it. They have, of course, swapped their solo laners as well, so Bwipo comes back down here. Since he does have plenty of magic resist with both solo laners being AP threats.
Yeah, feels a bit good, doesn't it, to be the Ksante in this game as far as itemization?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to lane a melee into a mid lane matchup, into one of these mages, having the early phase start out pretty smoothly and getting a bunch of money to just buy a bunch of magic resist, and especially the extra regeneration that you get off of the cowl is so nice for laning, because even if the Azir is attacking you with soldiers and stuff, you just move on up there, and Ksante has so much survivability with the extra shield and the early itemization. But here we go, we might get a little bit of a scrap as JunJia heads up towards the FlyQuest duo.
Yeah, we do have level 6 finally hit for Kaiwing as he's waiting in this brush. Doesn't look like they really want to find too much though, and especially with the Unbreakable Will there. Busio isn't really a target. Massu's hard to get onto because of the range that he does have. So we've just got a little bit of a snare coming on through. JunJia is going to walk over that captive audience, and out he will go.
It is interesting because the experience leads still hold for all the places that we talked about for FlyQuest. Bwipo's still with his. Bottom side, Driver is going to be the target, though.
This could be really dangerous, right? Because he's already behind. It could get even worse. The Equalizer goes down just to clear out the wave, and that looks to be exactly what FlyQuest wanted. Now they're going to slink back towards the river, and Inspired going to see what else he can collect. Looks like it's going to be Scuttler first. and then possibly just Gromp into clearing out as much jungle as he possibly can to continue getting himself in a good position. But so far, everything has been pretty quiet.
Pretty quiet. A little bit of extra efficiency, I would say, on the FlyQuest side.
Yep.
You know, namely from Inspired with his jungle farm. JunJia, we've seen a couple times where he hesitates around top side, kind of wants to make a play, either calls it off himself or gets interrupted. And so JunJia is slightly behind in the jungle. But that being said, the carries for CFO have their own leads here, both HongQ and Doggo, with some slight extra gold to their names.
Yep. HongQ, of course, very comfortable on this Azir as well. His record is pretty impressive. They do a lot of winning, so it is hard to really gauge exactly what it all means on the international stage, but I think HongQ's proven himself well enough for us to be able to trust it.
Yeah, it is actually crazy how much winning this team does. I mean, JunJia has won 7 regional titles in a row.
Yeah.
Everyone that he has played in there in the LCP/PCS. And we'll see if they can continue on the international stage. Again, in the early game, experience is valued a bit more than gold because the small gold differences don't usually result in a full item breakpoint. And so the extra value of a full level is a lot of...
stats are much more important.
Exactly. That's the guaranteed power that is going to be there. But we haven't seen anyone use it yet, really.
Oh my god, the burst damage out of Doggo. He's got that Trinity Force, and yes, now we definitely know it.
So the item breakpoints definitely do hurt when one of them is a Trinity Force.
Maybe this is one of those lessons, like AD carries really like items because they can do that with them.
Yeah, especially...
Oh, Soulflare double slow does come on through, but that's not quite enough to go for too much. Oh, I say that. HongQ Sand Soldiers, they've been training hard.
This could be problematic for FlyQuest. This is CFO really making a good effort to interrupt the dragon stacking. Inspired is on vision.
Yeah, and Doggo saw him, immediately clicked towards him. As Inspired is going to wrap his way around. Looks like CFO are going to get off this dragon as Teleport is going to bring Bwipo in. JunJia actually just going to waste no time, flashes away, but Bwipo might be able to get on top of him. The ulti not going to work out because Bwipo ate the CC, and that is first blood over to Inspired here. FlyQuest on the board. As the turret plates fall, a 14-minute first blood is not exactly the earliest, but the fact that they get a second Drake is huge.
They could teleport Quad to go answer the top wave as well. If they don't want to drop the top wave, send the Taliyah over there.
As the flash out, Curtain Call comes on in as, Massu's just going to be able to pick that one up because Bwipo is not scared of turrets.
And again, it's such a critical timing for FlyQuest because they have to keep dragon stacking. So because bottom wave was pushed in, they don't teleport Quad to top side. They keep Quad on bottom side to catch that minion wave. And it is going to cost FlyQuest a lot of damage on the top turret due to the Void Grubs as well for Driver. It barely stands. But again, it's so critical for FlyQuest, with this comp to actually keep the dragon stacking. So I do really like them contesting on it and forcing the play, using Bwipo's teleport there. That plus the CC from the Jhin, and now...
Oh, Quad could be in a little bit of trouble because Kaiwing does have that Zenith Blade, does connect, but even through the exhaust, Quad will be okay. Busio comes in and just says, get out of here, with a little bit of a headbutt, so not too much else to worry about. But CFO, they've been so good at being able to actually make things stick in the early game. They haven't been able to at all here so far. Still don't think it's end of the world. I still think their composition is going to feel just fine moving further on. But with all those experience hiccups, things like that, the fact that the gold is now well and truly sitting in FlyQuest's favor and those 2 dragons, man, everything is coming up FlyQuest here in this game so far as Quad might be the first sign of it not quite working out. As despite the flash, HongQ still able to pick him up. The redemption comes down as well, as we do see picture-in-picture that it should still be this Rift Herald going down. So they will be able to collect that one, and that is also going to be some feats of strength almost gotten towards as well, as Busio could be in trouble. Level 7 here, so he does have the Unbreakable Will, but he is still taking a lot of damage. These Sand Soldiers, man, they are really hurting. Not quite enough to get the kill onto the cow through the ulti.
Really good early flash from HongQ. Preemptively flashes to gain the...
2 turrets immediately?
Yeah, they take that one down. Topside's going to go to HongQ as well. But really good early flash from him to create the play. And Quad still flashing and dying is really going to put a bump here in the FlyQuest path. I think CFO, huge gold injection into those solo laners is going to be exactly what they want.
Yeah, and have a look at HongQ's lead now. 1.3K, 1.4K. That was FlyQuest's lead prior to that play. And it is now just on their superstar mid laner, a young man that has been the talk of so many this whole year, as CFO have been there every single time, no matter what event it has been. Still, this is only going to equalize things, right? Like 300 gold, not something that we're going to be too worried about. And there is still feats of strength on the table. Whoever makes it to that third one is going to be able to collect it here. See whether FlyQuest can just get one more kill to get some better shoes.
Yeah, HongQ, such a promising young talent here. And he always just plays with so much confidence on the world stage. We'll see about the next Azir play, as there were a lot of people converging on mid.
Yep.
But after the wave gets cleared out,
I can see you were tensed up. You're like, hang on a second.
Both sides, you can see almost immediately, both of them kind of spread back out to go catch their side waves. And those side waves are going to get a little dangerous for FlyQuest. Both outer towers are down, so CFO using their extra advantage there to get the early push.
Yep. Does mean that there's some standing gold here for FlyQuest, but unless they're able to take these turrets down, they're now just helping make sure that CFO has as much control of the map as they can at this stage of the game. Man, this next dragon fight is going to be such a big deal. 1 minute and 30 seconds on the clock for that one. FlyQuest, Soul Point in their sights. Mountain Soul is a big deal. Like, I mean, I don't know how you kill Bwipo after that one comes through. So, a pretty important one to fight for here. See whether CFO have any plans for it.
I think HongQ might have some plans, because he's 2 item Azir already. We were talking about, oh, how meaningful is gold versus experience? Well, when gold is 2 items fully completed on your Azir, then gold is massive. So
HongQ went back and bought a Leandri's, and Quad went back and bought a little book.
Ooh, would you rather have a book or a cool mask?
The cool mask, Kobe, every single time. Although some of the books, you know, are cool as well. There's a lot of them that you can buy.
This is a short story, though.
Yeah,
that's like a little picture book.
Yeah, this is the first. This is like baby's first book. You know, like it's not quite the fiendish codex. It's okay. Driver could be in a little bit of trouble here as Quad throws a whole bunch of rocks into his back. The seismic shove connects, and I think Quad wanted to let us know that the book's pretty good. Actually, it's not too bad.
Yeah, and he rides that one all the way to the pick. CFO though, with 4 people. They're also going to answer with the last remaining outer turret that FlyQuest had standing.
Yeah. And Doggo is, of course, Valkyrieing forward into Busio as the slow comes through. Massu is in so much trouble. He has to get out of there. Does have the curtain call to follow up if there is going to be anything more, but takes the cannon and will now be able to head back home. CFO, though, they are just tearing things off the map over and over again. And now, with the outer ring dead, the map is so dark. FlyQuest can have a real tough time at making their way over here to contest this dragon.
I think that one is gone. That is an oyster dragon.
What does an oyster dragon look like? Oh, like a mountain dragon. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Very
you just told me what it was.
Very similar to a mountain dragon.
Except you have to know that inside the mountain, there is indeed an oyster.
Exactly. You crack it open.
Yeah.
For some delicious meat.
It sounds kind of sinister. I don't like it anymore. I'm not going to mess with the oyster dragon. That's all right. Doggo and Massu back here in this lane. I think Massu knows now that if the Corki goes anywhere near him, it could be problematic, but he hasn't bought in quite some time. It's okay. Driver back in lane, maybe back in trouble again as Bwipo. We're going to try and take him down. There's the all out. See whether Driver can actually survive this one. Deadly Flourish will be avoided. There's the curtain call as Driver desperately trying to get out of here, but I don't think he's going to be able to do so. The last bullet doesn't connect, but Bwipo does have a Q. Manages to take that one down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, because there were 2 that showed top, CFO have decided that it's time for Articon, and then they decide it is too dangerous. Not a decision they often make, to be perfectly honest, as Rift Herald is going to be thrown into the mid lane. Shelly a little bit confused about where she is. We'll be able to wander towards... Okay, never mind. She is just going to be herded back down the river once again. Inspired will be able to just...
my favorite part of this...
driving.
My favorite part of this were the blue Flying Oyster question mark pings that were going down on it. They're like, where is he going with this? Regardless, though, the best thing that this FlyQuest comp does is make picks on the map. CFO, though, they're starting back up the Otacon.
Is this just gone? I mean, HongQ does need to be there if they want to have the DPS, but things are very, very dark on this map right now. Busio is going to rotate his way down. CFO have all the information they need. This is just gone. And you were talking about the great experience crisis of the early game of this series. That might be mitigated as Doggo does get himself over the right side of the wall. Driver desperately wanted to do the same thing, but there's a little bit of brush, and FlyQuest realized that I think their only real option here is to try and push down mid.
You can tell FlyQuest were so confused there. They had no idea where CFO were because Bwipo just teleported to his own secondary tower when he was split pushing on top side and had finished up that top tower. FlyQuest had no idea. They were completely bamboozled by that play from CFO, and then they saw them and they got the Otacon, announcement even. He still panics.
Yeah.
He thought people were coming for him.
I mean, they do have a gold advantage.
Max.
There's at least that. I'm trying to figure it out, Kobe, because feels like CFO just kind of got away with murder.
Yeah, FlyQuest, oh man, they are confused.
Well, Kaiwing might be confused now because Bwipo is just going to come out of the brush, but Driver comes in. We're going to slow him down with a couple of harpoons, and that should be enough. It's all right. We did manage, the feats of strength did go over to FlyQuest. They at least managed to lock that one in. So it's not end of the world or anything like that.
It is concerning, though.
I would say so. I think this was one of the issues when we were watching them just a couple of days ago as well, is fully understanding where to be to make sure that things could happen. But I mean, FlyQuest did manage to get 2 Barons in their last game, even though they lost, right?
I don't know.
This was a weird moment. This was a very weird moment.
Because they had already started fighting them by the Otacon, seeing multiple members. Technically not all of them.
Maybe it's just the assumed reset.
They also, yeah. All right, well, good plays from Flying Oysters, though.
It definitely worked.
In the last few minutes, they stopped the Dragon stacking, got the Mountain one first, then they got the Otacon, and they were able to get a teleport off of the Ksante here.
Maybe it was there was a vision bamboozlement that we missed, and there's a really clever vision bamboozlement that happened as the wall is going to come on down here. Kaiwing just flashes over the top, and it's going to be able to keep him safe, but that is a big investment as far as summon a spell. It is going to be employed, so CFO without that to engage some fights could be a big deal, as under a minute until this next dragon.
Next dragon. Let's see if they get back on track here, because CFO have got to be so happy with this game state. Already having the Otacon with 22 petals, plus having the first of the Mountain Dragons, taking that one away. It just gives them so many luxuries here. And HongQ was already doing well in this game. The Azir is just so comfortable split pushing, has an arm guard. We already mentioned the 2-item power spike, but this champion with flash up, he's so mobile. At CFO, have a lot of options here. And HongQ is even going to see the approach.
Well, Sundisk is going to come on up here, and that is going to mean that Inspired will take a little damage, but not too much more. It does have the upgrade of Merc Treads, as CFO are looking to move up and protect their mid laner. FlyQuest moving over as well. Teleport to bring HongQ down as they just want to take this inside track, move over towards this dragon. And they should be able to get this early setup. Massu already 50% of his health bar taken away as Doggo's rockets are really starting to hurt Quad. Wrapping around the side, doesn't have the Weaver's Wall up just yet. There's now Driver on that flank angle, checking for Inspired, who should be able to get himself in here. We'll see whether they want the turn or whether they want to get themselves the dragon. FlyQuest moved their way in though, Inspired biding his time to make sure he gets in at the opportune moment. Solar Flare goes entirely wide as Inspired gets his way in there. JunJia having to flash his way out though. Seismic Shove gone wide, Equalizer is down. Not doing too much though, as we can see. As the Drake already low as well. The exhaust comes on down. Bwipo gets into that backline. Kaiwing's in a little bit of trouble. And down goes the Xin Zhao. That's going to be the Drake going over. FlyQuest pick up the soul point, but have they found the fight? Driver still wanting to try and burn them. As HongQ gets on in there. There is Bwipo looking for the angle. Emperor's Divide though will be his shutdown. And it's Doggo that picks up the kill. Look at these health bars. Doggo desperately wanting another Valkyrie, but he will not be able to get in there. And FlyQuest gets soul point and they get relatively out of there.
Yeah, they do. Bwipo turns around to go after the Azirs to try and put a stop to that chase, and is the sacrifice. It ends up being 1-for-1 on kills. Critically, as you say though, Inspired able to secure the Dragon. Let's look at the setup here. JunJia does get focused. The Leona ult going wide there is actually quite big. That being down, Kaiwing also misses his E. Thankfully for him, he doesn't get shoved in by the Taliyah seismic shove, but you know, they back off from the equalizer, reset with the redemptions. Inspired and Bwipo inside the pit here is actually quite close because JunJia there, they focus him down, get the kill, and then Inspired can smite afterwards. So they cleanly are able to focus down the enemy jungler and then get the objective. Here's where it gets very risky.
Yeah, look at all these health bars. They're nothing.
As HongQ dashes in though, Bwipo goes in, he dies.
Well, you can see Bwipo not feeling too happy about it, but I think it was a worthy sacrifice for what they were able to pick up. 3.5 minutes until a potential Mountain Soul, which will be a huge deal. Not to mention getting the Elder onto the map, which certainly does help closing out the games.
Certainly does. I think there's a lot of pressure in the next 3 minutes.
Well, Solarflare going to slow down Inspired. Doggo is, of course, Valkyrieing over a wall, as he will be able to blast going his way to safety. Doggo only has one mode, doesn't he? He's just
I love
going
it. It's
in.
attack mode.
Yeah.
It is so fun to watch.
Every champion can be Draven, as it turns out.
Especially when he has double summoners. He plays so aggressively with them. CFO, though, once again, they start up the Baron. They're trying to force FlyQuest into this early.
My god, HongQ is doing so much damage to this objective. FlyQuest is going to have to make a decision. Teleport is going to come through from Bwipo as they get a nice knock up onto Kaiwing. He's thrown back with the shove. Equalizer goes down, though, and Quad is just dead! An overextension, as we can see, is now JunJia goes in. Busio, the next one to fall, paying for his mid laner's sins, as Doggo is, of course, flashing forward. It's Bwipo to go down one more time as he tries to all out his way to safety, but that is not going to stop CFO from taking this Baron and getting a big lead. Never mind, though, it's Kaiwing that's going to go down first. Inspired collects that, but Emperor's Divide pulls him back, and they'll trade jungle for support after the end of that fight, and CFO should be able to get the Purple Worm as a reward.
Huge for CFO. They turn around on Quad and immediately punish him for taking that wall so close to their team. Quad goes in, he jumps off right into Kaiwing here, gets stunned up, and immediately deleted. So CFO are very, very, very happy with the start of this fight, and then they just run down FlyQuest, chasing every last member here. Huge critical moment at the Baron, and CFO destroy FlyQuest.
You can see CFO pretty happy about it as well as far as the coaching staff are concerned. That is going to finally even out the kill score here in this game, but the Baron is the biggest deal. And keep your eye on that Rebel Baron power play. Currently at the neutral setting, which is 1500. The more they can get is going to be the use of the buff. As Doggo back in this mid lane once again. I feel like whenever he's on screen, I tense up. You know, there was no one else on the screen, but I was like, is he going to solo kill that nothing over there?
He just might. That dog definitely has bite. So does HongQ as well, by the way. The bird also has bite, and HongQ still has his flash. He didn't have to use his flash in the last massacre that we just witnessed. And so it's a level 17 Azir with a big lead. JunJia, though?
Yeah, JunJia is in a little bit of trouble, able to flash out of the way of the seismic shove, and there's not a whole lot of damage available to take him out when his ultimate's running. As now Busio likely to just die. Driver will be slowed down, but it's Quad that's dead again! Oh, it's a disaster for FlyQuest. It's into the backline, goes Inspired, but I just don't know whether that was a great idea, as Doggo's going to be able to take him down while he's trying to ult him into the sky. And CFO, this could be them just marching up the mid lane and taking out the first inhibitor of the game.
Yeah, I think they might destroy quite a bit of the FlyQuest base here with the Baron buff still on for a long time here. They get to continue pushing an inhibitor down. You also see JunJia pushing in on the bottom side wave, but he's gonna run right past it and look for the end.
Well, we'll see whether they can do it right here, right now. There are 2 siege minions making it so difficult. The curtains have been called. I don't know whether they're for CFO. They will be able to stay alive. So FlyQuest, they do survive the push here, but CFO have broken open the base. They take an inhibitor turret on the bottom side as well. HongQ deals with that one, and now on their way out, they'll be able to collect another Mountain Drake, meaning that that soul is ever further away once again. And I would say 6K is a pretty good Rebel Baron power play. We were talking about keeping your eye on that one. Yeah, that's good number.
Yeah, CFO here just looking dominant now in game number 1. Let's take a look at this as they try and pick off JunJia for FlyQuest side. And it's a good equalizer from Driver. Quad then, you can see on the Taliyah, gets nailed. Kaiwing, ulti him, immediate follow-up, and they just delete that Taliyah once again. Nice ult there from Kaiwing to snipe him. Inspired then goes in at the end. They know they're just kind of throwing their bodies at CFO at that point, because having given over to this team comp the Otacon as well as the Baron in that last fight and all this gold adding up, CFO have a chokehold on this first game.
Well, now Inspired, it's going to have to be these Hail Mary plays. And I actually like this. We've seen this from a lot of players in the past. Inspired himself has done it before. When you're feeling down and out, just find a spot to stand as Vi so you can kill the guy that does the damage.
This is
the pure shit play.
This is solo queue. You go and get an enemy camp.
Well, this is going to be an enemy team that CFO are looking for. Busio does have the unbreakable will, and he's going to need one if they want to stay alive in this game. And oh, not just a camp, that's a crab.
I mean, Atlas, people call it different things. To me, when I do that, it's a bit of rage.
Yeah.
I'm rage clearing enemy camps at that point.
Oh, rage clearing is the rage counter jungle clear.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I think just rage clearing. I'm going to use that. I'm definitely going to use that. As Doggo Valks over the wall, will be able to keep himself alive. But now the wraparound has happened. It's not only a rage clear, it might also be Driver going down, but he does spot him here. Inspired, not quite with the surprise play that he wanted, but it's the all-out to bring them underneath the turret. JunJia is going to be the first one to go down, as Doggo is, of course, over the wall. HongQ goes golden as the solar flare is going to interrupt that curtain call. As, my God, how did Doggo do that much damage? That was disgusting, but still, he is now dead. I think Fly is still alive.
Atlas, rage clearing is a viable strategy.
This was the best. It's a stroke of genius.
It turned into the flank of all time for FlyQuest, what they needed to defend the base.
It set them off. And then they just went. They flew underneath the inhibitor turret. Inspired didn't even really have to do anything. It was mind control. It was extraordinary.
Mind control is the best strategy. Here we go, though. You can see on the minimap Inspired approaching, and Bwipo is able to get the kidnap basically under tower.
Yeah.
And they basically create chaos. When you are down like that, you want to create some more chaos. And so they're going to continue to do it.
Yeah, Driver could be in a whole lot of trouble. The wall comes down. I don't think this Rumble is going to survive, and he doesn't think so either as he ults the wave to make sure that he can at least get something. But these little picks, all of these dents in the tempo are getting Fly back into the game.
Exactly, that's what you have to do. Continue to try and make picks across the map. Go through the fog of war.
Do we have to have the freak conversation about you shouldn't take the mid inhibitor because you deny yourself gold and stuff? Do we need to do that?
And
it's been a while.
Well, their wave clear is not the best. We'll see about the teleport out. I say just keep on fighting.
Well, that's exactly what they're going to do, as JunJia, once again potentially in trouble, does now have HongQ and Kaiwing in the area. As the knockback from Bwipo, there is another kidnap, like you said before, but it's going to be flashed this time. Blast Cone makes things problematic. Oh, the rocks go down. HongQ, so much trouble, but still the damage is there because Doggo shows up. Massive amounts to come on through, but it's already 2 for FlyQuest. Doggo trying to survive against Bwipo. He flashes over the wall and picks up a double, but Fly still able to win the fight, and it should be the Baron.
Baron is alive. It is. Okay, Doggo's still alive, though. You have to respect Doggo.
Driver is turning up as well, but I mean, Doggo's health bar is not exactly high. As Massu gets himself in there, it's looking like they're not going to go for this Baron, but FlyQuest, I mean, I was writing the obituary, man. Like, this is not what I was expecting this game to look like.
You have to keep the chaos going. They want to keep the chaos rolling here, forcing and forcing. They're definitely going to turn off the Baron, but CFO are doing a good job. They're not taking the bait here very quickly. They know it takes FlyQuest way too long to do the Baron, so they're not running into it.
Yeah, Weaver's Wall goes down. I mean, they left a control ward there, but the Equalizer is still going to do so much work as the Baron, they're still on it. The spikes are really hurting. Inspired, still lower and lower, and Doggo wanting that wraparound. Driver gets in there with the flamethrower, and there's Doggo! It is going to be the Baron secured by FlyQuest, but can they keep anyone else alive? The Empress Divide comes in, it's a double in the end for Doggo, and so there are a few Barons left up here for FlyQuest, but there's no people.
Yeah, there's only an Alistar and a Ksante to defend the base. CFO are going to come, and they're going to try and finish.
All right, let's see whether they can make that one happen as HongQ shifts some sands to get himself towards Bwipo, whose health bar is extraordinarily large. Driver looking for the flanking Busio, and JunJia's going to catch him because he's walking up mid lane to get back to his team. He's holding the wave. It's the Marin strategy yet again, but I just don't know whether it's really going to work. As CFO, they're going to move back. They're going to get themselves their own soul point, but it did save the game, Kobe. It did say, never mind. Maybe it's just, oh my, this game, it's just ridiculous.
It certainly bought them some time,
It bought them some time. They might have been coming back to do the Dragon anyway. However, it did look a little bit, I got flashbacks, you know, to that Maokai standing stalwart to stop the end of the game.
Yeah, it does buy them some time. Triple Mountain Dragons now picked up for CFO, but FlyQuest live a bit longer here. Again, gotta clear out some of this vision and continue to try and make some picks. They have so much CC to try and do it.
We're not able to stop the back here as Inspired. Wanted to try and catch Driver once again, but not going to happen this time around. And yeah, this game is quite crazy.
Yeah.
Is that a Flame Horizon for Bwipo?
Yeah, that's valid. Over 100 CS
I
lead.
questioned whether I was looking at the right number. I was like, surely not. That's a Rumble.
The second question is, does that Flame Horizon matter?
Probably.
Or does Doggo being full build Corki? That certainly is a full extra item.
He does have 9 times the amount of kills to his opponent.
All right, well, FlyQuest, they have to continue to be scrappy here. They're trying. They're trying to play in the darkness here, but the Flying Oysters are flying safe now, staying on their side of the map where they have vision.
And the problem is I feel now, if you were FlyQuest, you're like, well, this is definitely doable because the game was basically over. And so it feels like the tempo has kind of moved back into Fly's favor because they're like, well, the enemy team just won. We've got nothing to lose in this game. Like, it was a done deal. And so now every opportunity they get back in this one, it's kind of like a freebie. And let's see whether CFO can keep themselves in it because they have almost thrown it away.
Biggest problem to me for FlyQuest now is when you try and make a pick, there are 2 Zhonya's on both solo laners for CFO, and then the Guardian Angel on Doggo is already available, and JunJia's is close to being available.
Yeah, so the 6 items on the Azir is problematic for the...
for everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Like, Doggo wants to get a pentakill, he can't because his mid laner does way too much damage. I mean, it's not just FlyQuest that have issue with it. So let's see. Yeah, just clearing out this mid lane wave. Thankfully, it is mid lane, so it's the easiest one to cover. But we have synchronized timers between these 2 objectives, Kobe. So, quad stack Mountain Soul or a Baron might be the choice they'll have to make.
Let's track Inspired again, because Inspired is taking another long venture into the other side of the map.
I feel like he's feeling better though now, so I don't think we can call it the same thing.
I mean, it worked last time. He went for Raptors and then topside Scuttle, and then they saved the game. So now he takes Krugs.
Surely he could grab some Raptors as well.
I mean, it is golden experience that they wouldn't have been able to get before.
Yeah.
This time, they had confidence in CFO not pushing for the end. So he is able to steal that one away. He's kind of deep.
Actually cancels it here as the control ward is going to be taken down. JunJia, no idea that there is a Vi lying in wait, but Kaiwing might get word of it. Will the back actually go through? It will. Nicely done. And emotes on his way out. That's clean. This game's weird, Kobe.
Honestly, I'm having fun.
I love it. Weird is good.
All of the pressure, it kind of distracts you from the fact that this is the last day of Swiss, and this is elimination promotion.
And you can tell like there's so much more layered on top, right? There's so many reps of playing out these late game like set plays, right? But then there's also the terror of having to go home here and missing out on that top 8. And for both of these teams, that is a huge deal. CFO, an incredible year for this team, and FlyQuest wanting to make it back to that knockout stage once again. See whether they can get further. CFO looking to try and get a little bit of siege happening. It's not a massive amount of range for this squad, and so not quite working just yet. Solar Flare once again, just going to be a pretty circle and not much more. And JunJia gonna get knocked up. Oh my god, look at this. As soon as HongQ does anything, someone almost dies. So they have to be so incredibly careful as the inhibitor going to be coming back up very, very shortly. As driver, possible flank angle here, but there is a teleport back to bring Kaiwing towards the mid lane. And there it is. Thank you, picture in picture. I feel like this game has almost 100% equalized.
We'll ask Driver about that one in the next fight.
I felt it coming, and I'm glad
I
you
know.
did it.
I didn't even want to do it.
I know, it felt like you had to.
I did, exactly.
Now you know how I feel every day with
Okay.
every dumb joke that I make.
Biggest difference, though, of course, extra full item on both CFO carries. So they have so much power here, but FlyQuest...
Bwipo going in, there's the wall as well. Quad, though, keeping himself relatively safe this time as HongQ goes golden. Seismic shove is going to be avoided with the flash, but Bwipo picks him up, but he's not going to be able to withstand the Emperor's Divide. Into the backline goes Inspired. Busio's there. They need to kill HongQ, and down he goes. Quad's getting flashed on, though, by drivers looking to burn down Massu. Doggo's still alive as well, and the rest of CFO have dealt with the other onslaught on the other side of the fight. Down goes Inspired as JunJia with full health is going to be able to make his way out. Now they're pinging on the mid lane, but I think a Mountain Soul might be coming in first.
That's the Soul for sure. Quad and Massu were at the very least able to take down Driver. So that is both solo laners that have been killed on the side of CFO. Now though, there's a ward behind Baron that saw FlyQuest go over to this. So this desperate play from Quad and Massu, it is known to CFO, and they're not going to let him get away with it.
Yeah, Doggo will be able to spot them out here. There is the Mountain Soul to come on in as Doggo walks on forward. Sees Quad at extraordinarily low health. They're going to see whether they can get themselves out. It is just one auto, and Quad will die. Gives him the thumbs up, but isn't able to kill him. And the blast cone for the disengage. But still, CFO, they don't lose the Baron, and they should be able to take it themselves here. And with a quad stack Mountain Drake, Mountain Soul, and a sweet purple buff, and an open door on the base, they should be able to finish this game. But I've said that before. This time feels a little bit more true.
Well, well, well.
3 holes in the ground.
Now we'll approach the FlyQuest base one more time for CFO. As you said, they have everything in their arsenal just ready to finish this game.
Do I think that they are going to? No idea. Still no idea.
FlyQuest, they really need the magic now. Can they come up with something spectacular?
Oh, Inspired was going for it again, but this time was spotted by CFO. Kaiwing and JunJia together, ready to try and collect him. I think he's out, so should be all right.
I will say there is now no Guardian Angel on Doggo, as well as no Flash. But I think that CFO, as long as they just play safe with their battle lines, and they don't have both carries right next to each other, then they should be okay to just slowly move it in.
And now we've just broached 10 seconds over the longest game at Worlds, which we did just have yesterday.
Great job all around, everybody.
51. The games are getting longer, as we're seeing, as these inhibitors may not have much longer, but we'll see. This bottom one's certainly going to go down as Bwipo looking like he's defending this. Wind becomes lightning comes through. Man, that health bar on the Ksante is so massive. But these inhibs are still going to go down. The flank angle there from Inspired. He still wants to look for it as they're under Nexus turrets now. Driver wanted to see what's going on. I believe spotted him just there. The first Nexus turret going to be lying on the floor. They need to pull the trigger if they want to stop CFO from taking this. But you can see they're playing so carefully as CFO not wanting to take any undue risks as Seismic Shove will be Sonya's. And there is the Emperor's Divide as well. HongQ keeps himself alive. They're still desperately trying to get on top of him, but it does not work. The young player is able to say no to FlyQuest and will now be able to take down the Nexus. It took a little longer than we may have expected, but the Oysters strike first.
CFO finished the job in game number 1. FlyQuest scrambled and made them work for it, but in the end, CFO are victorious.
What an incredible game, and what a long one as well. Now it's time to hear from the analyst desk while we try and figure out what just happened.
What a long one as well. This is what elimination games are made of. Blood, sweat, and tears, equalizers, missed positions.